Welcome to part 4 of socially acceptable forms of internalized misogyny in women. There are only 6 things on this list, so if you're going to complain, lady, you talk too much, and you think that this list is going to relieve the fact that you have the attention span of a gnat, I have news for you. The only reason why this list is shorter is because I have a lot more shit to talk about, but those who love and support my content are here for listening to me and are here for listening to black women, so you can fuck off. If the other lists that I made didn't make you feel uncomfortable, this might be the lists that get your underwear up in a knot. If you haven't already blocked or unfollowed me yet, thank you. Now fasten your seatbelts because you guys are in for a bumpy ride. Number 1, you saw one of the other 3 lists and you bragged, "Oh, thank God I don't do any of the things on this list. Thank God I've done the work and I don't struggle with any internalized misogyny." Oh, sweetie, we all struggle with internalized misogyny, okay? I have content that is centered on issues that women struggle with, and I'm sure my mutuals who make the same content can look at any one of my videos and literally point out shit that is rooted in internalized misogyny, and I can do the same for them as well, and I know for a fact that we are passionate about women's issues. Patriarchy tells us to compete against other women and to figure out ways to make ourselves better and different and to set ourselves apart. It just falls under that whole umbrella of I'm not like other girls. And again, I'm going to get this put on a t-shirt. Sister, we are like other girls. In the eyes of the patriarchy, we are all the same, okay? The women who have my respect on these videos are the ones who said, you know what? I can do better. Or, you know what, I struggle with number 5 on whatever list, or number 10, or whatever. The ones who admit that they've come so far, but they still have so far to go. And if you really think that internalized misogyny can be wrapped up in the 32 or 33 odd things that I've talked about so far, you've got more unpacking and work to do. Number 2, you blame women for getting abused. You knew, you saw the signs, you just chose to ignore them. It's the man you chose. Why didn't you just leave? That could never be me. You know, before I met my abusive ex-husband, I used to say that could never be me. And I thought about all the things I would say and do. And then once I was actually in that situation, I didn't say and do any of that shit. And if you're bragging that you have a good man because you made the right decisions, that's actually incorrect. You have a good man because he consistently remained the good man that he showed you he was at the beginning, after you moved in together, after you got married, and after you had kids. In a lot of abusive situations, they start off as good men, and then once they have you trapped and hooked in some way or another, that's when the mask falls off. And then when that happens, instead of blaming them, you blame yourself because, I mean, at one point, everything is fine, and now what's happening? And you're so heavily invested in the relationship in one way or another that it's not simply a matter of just getting up and leaving. So if you hear women talk about how they survived abuse and your first reaction is anything other than, how can I help my sister get out of this situation? How can I educate younger women so that they avoid losers like this? How can I change the system so that there are resources available for them to easily escape situations like this and not worry about being homeless or losing their children in the process? If your response is anything other than how can I help and how can I educate, you're a card-carrying member of the Internalized Misogyny Club. Number 3, you think that being LGBTQ plus automatically means you don't struggle with internalized misogyny. Now, I myself am not a member of the LGBTQ community, but I am a proud ally of this community. My sister, I have several friends and family members who are members of the LGBTQ community. And on my previous list, I had so many women comment, "Woo! Thank God I'm a lesbian and I don't have to struggle or deal with any of this shit." Let me tell you something, sweetheart. If you think that patriarchy, internalized misogyny, being a pick-me, and domestic abuse don't all occur in the LGBTQ plus community, you're delusional. As a matter of fact, domestic abuse is actually higher within the LGBTQ plus community, and I really think it's because people like you paint this picture that shit like this doesn't happen within the community. So no awareness is brought to these issues. Victims are ashamed to come forward, and people don't take these issues seriously. To deny and ignore the fact that these issues exist within the LGBTQ plus community is to ignore the victims who need our help, who need awareness brought to these issues. Newsflash, if you are a human being, you are capable of being an abuser, and there's a possibility that you could be a victim at some point. Number 4, you're already training your young children for their patriarchal roles. You got your daughter a baby doll, a play kitchen, a mini grocery store, princess clothes, high heels, play makeup, and you got your son Tonka trunks, Nerf guns, footballs, figurines of his favorite wrestlers. You're training your 3-year-old that it's her responsibility to take care of children and the home, and you're training your son that it's his job to be a 3-year-old at the age of 35. Number 5, you blame moms for the actions of men. I can't believe your mom raised you like this. I can't believe your mom did this. I can't believe your mom did that. Yes, I agree that some moms and dads encourage the toxic behaviors of their adult children, okay? But the default is always moms. And let me just be honest and vulnerable with you guys. I love my son. Y'all know that I do, but the amount of conversations that I have had to have with this kid because he said some shit that he either heard from his dad, his friends, music, movies, television, it's crazy. If my son goes out into this world and makes poor decisions or mistreats women, you heifers are gonna blame my ass. And I fucking hate it here. We seem to forget that there's other factors that come into play, and we seem to forget the fact that despite the fact that you check all the boxes and you do everything right, at some point your kids become adults who can make their own decisions. There's a lot of shit that my parents didn't teach me that once I got out into my own, I was heavily influenced by other factors, and I believed in certain things or did certain things. Let's stop blaming women, okay? And lastly, number 8, you don't listen to black women. Black men don't even respect black women. And if you are a black woman with darker skin tones, you have an even harder time. If you are a feminist and black women are not at the forefront and center of your movement, you're engaging in what I like to call white feminism. The feminism where it's all about you and your rights, which is literally how feminism started. It wasn't to help us, it was to help y'all. A lot of feminists back then didn't even believe that black people should be free. If you claim you're a feminist and an ally, I look at your friend group. Does it look like a bag of Skittles or does it look like a bowl of oatmeal? When you do talk about issues within the black community, is it you talking or are you uplifting the voices of black people? Can you be held accountable for toxic things that you might do or say? Or do you simply talk over black people and get defensive? A lot of y'all are doing this shit performatively. I'm just saying. So how did I do? What did you think of the list? Did you block me or unfollow me yet?